Hey y'all, it's Chimdi. So I want to talk about shame, specifically the shame that I think a lot of creators face when it comes to showing up as a YouTuber, as a creator, as an influencer, any of those things. And it's come up a few different times in the last couple of weeks, right? With one-on-one clients. It's come up with folks who joined the Hello Creator weekly creator roundtables. Those are every Wednesday at noon. If you want to come, it's totally free. And so what I think is so interesting is so many young people, like young people, like kids, toddlers will say, oh, I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up. But among people who are already adults, I think the folks who aren't already creators, or maybe even folks who have like dipped their toe in it, but they haven't fully committed, part of why they haven't is because they do feel a little bit of shame around wanting to own that this is something they want to do. I want to identify some of the reasons this might be, as well as maybe some ways to think about your relationship to creating that can hopefully help you move through it. So the first thing I saw was actually a stat that something like 70% of the folks who are influencers are women. And we know that roles that are predominantly held by women tend to be disparaged in the wider culture. So I just want to name that. And I think when people hear YouTuber or they hear influencer, they think about a woman who is vapid or shallow or superficial, and all they're doing is sort of taking selfies. That's how they're sort of making their money and getting all these nice things. And there's a sense of maybe like unearned success, like they're not actually contributing to society. And I think if you're someone who's been raised to work in traditional 9-to-5 roles like doctor, lawyer, engineer, right? Some of those immigrant jobs, right? Those like ideal immigrant jobs. It's really uncomfortable to connect to, oh, actually I want to make videos on the internet. Like actually I do want to take photos and share, or I do want to just vlog my life and I want to be paid handsomely for that, right? And so I just want to outline, one, how common this is as a way of thinking. So if that's something you feel, just know that you're not alone. And I also want to point to, I think, something that's embedded in the criticism of influencers who are predominantly women. It kind of seems as if they are being paid for no particular skill, even though we know if you're in the creator world, there's editing and shooting and logistics and admin, and there's so much that goes into creating. So anyone who's in it already knows that that's a lie. But I think critically is that the people aren't having to do anything, right? They're just getting on camera, pressing record and talking, and they get rewarded for it with all of this money. And I think if we've been taught that you're supposed to work really, really hard, you're supposed to actually suffer and struggle and sacrifice and toil, and it's actually a good thing to break your back working. If you've been taught that, and then you see other people who seem to have gotten the cheat codes to life and they're just happily making content and being well paid for it, it feels like almost a slap in the face. And then it sort of causes you to hold a mirror up to yourself and say, oh, what do I really believe about how I have to be? And I think another part is around the value that we each hold as an individual, regardless of what we are doing, how we are contributing, how we are even being of service to other people. Just us waking up and being here and existing, how comfortable is it for you to connect to the idea that just your presence is a gift? The moment you opened your eyes and decided to keep living, a gift. The moment you walk into the room, you don't have to say anything, a gift. Just your presence is a gift. And I think we all have different experiences growing up where some of us were treated like, you truly are a miracle, you are a gift, thank you just by being born, you have blessed me. And I feel very grateful because I think I had more of that than not. But there are other people who have been taught all of these lessons that say basically you're worthless, why are you here, you have to prove yourself, you're not good enough no matter what you do, you can never really sort of be worthy of my time or my attention. And we may have these really deeply buried beliefs that we're walking around with. So when we try to show up and create and put ourselves out there and just be ourselves with our own natural personality, it's really, really hard. And then there's this other part when it comes to sort of the shame around being a creator, which is this idea of who am I to speak on this topic, right? You know, we look to the people on YouTube and they seem to have some kind of experience or some kind of skill set or some kind of wisdom. and we think, well, somehow I am separate from them. I know I can relate to that feeling of like, who am I to speak on these topics? Because there are so many people that I have been helped by who seem like they're so much further along. And in the back of my head, I think, how would they handle this situation? It comes up a lot when not as much anymore, but when I first started coaching, it came up a lot where I would think about the people who supported me, and I'd say, that person would know what to do in this situation. That person would handle this differently. That person wouldn't even be in the situation. They'd have figured it out, right? Like other people have some kind of master skill that I didn't have. The reality is that it's only once you start creating, it's a bit of a catch-22. It's only once you start creating that you realize that every other person is just showing up and talking. Like, they are just showing up and talking. And very critically, they are not always right. I used to think, I promise, I used to think that if I read it in a book, it was true. For real. I thought, no, if someone published it, you can't publish lies. So if I read it in a book, like in a nonfiction book, that means it's true. Like, just no, no critical thinking. None. I used to think, and I don't know how much I knew, I don't know when my discernment developed. I used to think if it was in the news, it was true. I know. Now it sounds great. I honestly thought that. And I think sometimes, especially when it comes to topics where the person seems to embody a level of like development that we aspire to, we think, oh, because they're saying it, it's true. It's true for them, and only for them. Only for them. So this idea that, who are you to speak? You are the expert on your experience. You are the only expert, and you're only the expert of your experience. And that's what's interesting, because no one else will ever live your life ever. And we'll only know about it if you let us know about it. That's it. And there's so many things that I've shared online, and some of it I look back and I'm like, all right, did we need to? And in a lot of ways, the ways I used to show up when I was much younger, meaning like 3 years ago, I'm not proud of it, honestly. Like, I think I was kind of like mean and kind of like judgmental. Like, I didn't love it, let's just say. And there are a lot of things I've said on the internet that I wouldn't say now. And I'm a human being, and I'm growing and I'm developing, and that's the whole point of creating and sharing my journey, is that it's a journey. If I was already at the end, it wouldn't be a journey, right? And it wouldn't be fun to follow along with. And so I just want to encourage you, if you're someone who wants to create, it's on your heart to create, it's there for a reason. That spark, that desire is there for a reason. And the reason is that you're going to have all of this joy on the other side and through the entire journey of creating. There will probably be some challenges. You're probably going to learn a lot about yourself. And I don't think that's a bug. I think that's a feature. That's actually the point, is that there are these things you don't know about yourself, and the process of making the choice to show up on camera, sit here to talk, to share, to laugh, to bring people into your life, to leave comments and respond to comments and build this whole community. You're going to learn a lot about yourself, and you're going to be really happy you know those things about yourself. I know I certainly am. So hang out with me every Wednesday if you want to be around other creators and talk through these problems and be encouraged and supported on your creative journey. If you want to talk one-on-one, I'm a creative coach. I help creators start and grow their YouTube channels, so you can put some time on my calendar for a one-on-one call. I have a 3-month program, and I also do like one-off 30, 60, and 90-minute calls. So I hope this was encouraging to you. Let me know in the comments if it resonated, and I'll see you in the next one.